make much more sense if, and has in the past, that we look to the general fund, because water is important, as you just said, to all of us in Oregon, not just those who enjoy a certificate. So what I'd like you to express to me is why are we leaving everybody else out when, as I just pointed out, such a huge volume of water benefits from the management of that which is diverted, but you're asking to be carved out of paying for it? Why is that? Is there a better approach?
Representative Bentz, Chair Helm, if I'm understanding the question, I think it was similar to the question we heard earlier, which takes me back to the point that this is the public's water, and the public is paying currently through the general fund for the management of its waters. This includes the management of the 89,000 water rights per se, but also the management of the system. The state is, the state monitors stream flows. They are involved in all kinds of, policy, sort of stakeholder groups, all kinds of management issues. I'm not sure I understood the question. If that doesn't get at it, please let me know.
Thank you. So let me place it a little bit differently. I'm guessing that those 89,000 folks who have water rights certificates are also taxpayers, and they're paying into the funds that then are used to pay for the management of 100% of our water. What I'm suggesting is that when one selects those who have water rights certificates, as was mentioned by our chair earlier, that doesn't include the hundreds of thousands of domestic wells that are also using the same resource. It doesn't include the in-stream water rights that benefit from the management that currently is going on. It doesn't include the huge volumes of water used for electrical power. It does not include those. Now, it may include $100 or whatever it is for one water right for flowing tens of thousands of CFS through one of these dams, but there's no reason we should be avoiding the value of management to those who don't enjoy a water rights certificate, unless you're telling me there is. And if the answer is that's because the general fund is picking it up and somehow we're to equate the 94% to the general fund, I would disagree, because I don't see any reason for you to carve out the certificates unless you start carving, and unless you add to them those who are also using water that's not naturally available to them. And that would be the domestic users, that would be the power users, that would be a whole bunch of people that don't necessarily rely upon a water rights certificate. So what I'm really getting at is, why did you select the water rights certificate holders with such a broad statement of management?
Okay.
As though they in isolation. I just went back to look at the water resources strategy to check to see how many times the word water right was used in that 121-page document. I'm not sure it's there at all. Not once.
Okay.
How odd. But now we're asking that they pay this money. Doesn't seem right.
So, Representative Bentz, Chair Helm, thank you for the question. I guess I would take us back for a minute to the origination of this fee bill as it is presented today. Back in 2010, the Water Resources Commission was very concerned about funding for the state. And they convened over 30 stakeholders to talk about revenue sources to help provide a more stable funding source for the Water Resources Department. Over the course of 2 years, they had many meetings, at least 5 public meetings, and again, all the stakeholders, I think, at least of the organizations in this room, were there. And they analyzed many paths forward, and this was one that they recommended as one of the most reasonable ways to move forward to help fund the department. And so I think the history here is very important to this discussion. It was very well vetted. The commission spent a lot of time on it. And I guess, I would say that I think as Chair Helm noted, there is a work group to discuss these bills and the concepts, and there may be alternative paths forward. But I think as a starting point, this is a very solid concept that comes from a very solid source.
Oh, very short. I want to clear, I don't disagree with the concept of appropriate management. When you have a water right, the most important thing you can do is live within it and make sure that it is protected so that you can appropriately use the water that you've been blessed to have a water right for. And I'm not suggesting that some sort of a payment for those uses is inappropriate. What I'm suggesting is that we're leaving out an awful lot of uses when we select just the water rights certificate. So I look forward to those conversations, but I'm constantly astounded at how quickly we overlook 90% of the water and focus on just that which is diverted, which again, according to studies from the Water Resources Department, about 8% of all the water in Oregon. Probably less this year with all the floods going by us as we speak. No question there, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to thank you now so that we can move along.